Moose, December 26th, 2021. What's up, broski?
It's a very interesting time when we have a very good poll up. The polls today is really really good, Sneed. I have to give it to you on this one.
Trying to think outside the box a little bit to see what's happening with the retail side of things. I did a little observing over the last couple of weeks, a little bit of monitoring the carriers, corporate stores, authorized dealers, and then also the advertising and the marketing side, where the dollars are going. You know what I'm saying, Moose? So
Mm-hmm.
I know it's right up your alley. You know, we do discuss this quite a bit. So
Yeah.
I asked the question, and it is there in the poll for those of you that are here in the live, hashtag 2LiveCrew. I asked the question, which carrier has been advertising the most and has the busiest retail in your market? And the reason I put those two things together, Moose, is because they kind of go hand in hand. Everybody's advertisement targets are going to be a little different and kind of sort of dependent on, the market. So
Right.
the CLE is 100% that type of market where Verizon dominates, and I've completely seen that reflected in the results. So I posed the question. I think what this poll is going to do is give us an idea of where our viewership lies. What type of markets are they in? Are they in T-Mobile markets, Verizon or AT&T markets? A little bit of prepaid in there possibly. So this is an advertising and marketing questionnaire as well as retail, and I think the two do go hand in hand in a lot of instances in these markets, Moose.
I've been seeing a lot of prepaid MVNOs, particularly Spectrum Mobile. They're hot right now, man. Every single commercial on Spanish channels, Spectrum Mobile. It's unbelievable. It's out of control. Like, it's how many times it over. Usually, T-Mobile has the Spanish channels on lock. You know what I mean, for advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Spectrum Mobile is outspending them this year.
Wow. Yeah. So I knew this was going to be an interesting one. So we got Moose, myself, and now I welcome in EM Tech. What is up, good sir?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, man. We just got to started on this topic here. Moose brings up the Spectrum Mobile. I've been seeing a ton of their ads. They're doing a couple things with their advertisements. Number one, they're really pushing the value play in terms of the cost per line. They're coming in pretty cheap at $29.99. What you're getting is obviously not a traditional postpaid unlimited plan. It's not the same. But for a lot of people that have them for their cable ISP, they come in at this very attractive price point. Now they're advertising, and we know they don't make a lot of money on wireless, but they want to take market share away from the big carriers because the big carriers are still growing, right? There are more and more lines getting added every quarter. And, in speaking to Roger Etner and following him, it appears that more and more young children are getting upgraded and adding lines. Kids are getting phones at a much younger age than ever. Those that are in the older demographic, the more mature demographic, they're starting to, get more involved with the tech side of things and smartphones. So there are lines to be added, and they want their share of those gross ads, and they're willing to undercut the competition to do so. Big shout out to Ricky, RFK Tech in the house. We got Michael West. We got Chame. Good to have you guys. We got Medardo. Big Pete's here. We'll see if he comes through tonight. We got Michael. We got Cesar. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming through. Big terms in the house. Who else we got here? We got Manny. He's here. We got Ashay. We got Christopher. Aaron is here. I think I'm mostly caught up here. And David. We got him here as well.
You're absolutely right about the younger folks getting lines, man. I mean, that's huge. When I was 11 years old, I wasn't getting a cell phone, let alone 10. But cell phones, this device itself has become so cheap, with the promotion, that you can now afford just to pay the cost of the line.
And the pricing is good. A big shout out to Obed, Joey, Ron, Gene, appreciate you guys for coming through tonight. Yeah, man. The pricing actually can't be beat, Moose. You look at their pricing, man. You know, who's giving you $29.99 on lines, right? And what is it? 2 or more lines, you get that pricing? Is that right?
$29.99, yeah, for Spectrum Mobile. Oh yeah,
It's 2 or more lines,
huge.
right?
Okay. Yeah, 2 or more. Yeah.
Yeah, Tech, where are you at with this? We got this poll up, man. I don't know if you put in your vote for what you've been seeing in your market, but which carrier has been advertising the most and has the busiest retail in your market? I can tell you here in the CLE, I mean, all the NFL games I've been watching, things have really slowed down for T-Mobile and their marketing. AT&T's been pretty quiet too. And then Verizon is just on full blast in my market. And their stores were so busy for the holiday season. And, you know, I drove by the T-Mobile stores and they were pretty slow, you know, and I checked almost daily, you know, driving by all these retail stores. So I wanted to make sure I had a good pulse on it, and that's what I saw.
In terms of like physical marketing, like billboards, you know, signage and stuff, I've been seeing a lot of AT&T ads in my market, more specifically for the home broadband. And then I've been seeing a lot of Boost Mobile and Metro marketing, like in the city. They got these giant trucks with these big bright signs driving around, $25 a month or whatever their advertising pitch is. But in terms of retail traffic, I feel like it's been an even split. I don't really know too much about certain carriers, but AT&T and Verizon are popping over here right now.
Yeah, I saw pretty busy stores for those two. The T-Mobile stores were quiet, and that's why I asked the question. It's got to be market dependent because, you know, I'm looking at the poll right now, and you can clearly see that there's definitely a discrepancy. But again, I don't know if that's just my viewership. You know, it's the viewers. Maybe it's skewed to a certain direction. But I mean, this would be interesting. I do see prepaid and MVNO getting a little bit of love there, and I do think Moose is right. I do think that would be the Spectrum Mobiles of the world, the Xfinity Mobiles of the world, right? All right, so go ahead and get your final votes in, guys and gals. We're gonna close this first poll here in 2 minutes. At the 10-minute mark, we'll get it closed, and then we'll see where this thing shakes out. We got 52 in the live, hashtag 2LiveCrew. I know some of you guys are eating dinner, so hashtag Ravioli Gang. And then for those of you watching this on DVR playback, hashtag Replay Crew. Go ahead, EM. You wanted to add something?
Oh, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Never mind. Keep going.
You know, the biggest thing that I was going to say is that when you think about it, right? Spectrum Mobile doesn't make any money off of the mobility side, right? However, they are utilizing it as an anchor product, right?
Mm-hmm.
To entice people to, at the minimum, get their internet service, so then you can save money on their wireless service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So very interesting. Very interesting. The other thing that I was thinking about is, you know, we have AT&T doing the same thing with their anchor product, which is fiber, right? 25% discount, right? The private offer, like people have been saying. You know, maybe even the SMT this week is joining the dark side. You know, the infamous empire is going to be coming. You know, so, but you know, like I was talking about this on the Twitter Spaces the other night, where just you wait, the higher net adds of fiber to any carrier, regardless of the, you know, fixed wireless, fiber, Comcast, you know, cable, whatever, that will also play into account the net adds of the wireless. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by that, right? So the more N41, the more home internet. That might be their first product, right? For some people, right? But then that first product is so good that they get the T-Mobile mobility side, the wireless side. Same thing with Verizon, right? Because it gives you a $20 discount right on the 5G home if you have wireless.
Yep.
Yeah. Boom. Another one, right? Same thing with AT&T Fiber. So
yeah, they're coming in. I mean, some of these discounts are $20. You get a $10 auto pay discount and then $20 bundling with wireless. I mean, they want to deepen the relationship, Moose, and they're willing to offer the discounts because they know that our ARPU play is there.
Yeah, the ARPU is there on the more expensive product, right? Which is their cable service or their internet service, or they might even bundle it, right? You get wireless, you get cable TV, and you get the internet. We'll knock it down a few bucks, but we can then say to the investors, hey, we still got a bunch of people on TV, even though they don't use it.
Yeah,
I see a lot of that, people.
Yeah, definitely. But people are trending towards the cord cutting side of things. I mean, when was the last quarter there was actually TV growth for the cable ISP?
Right.
I mean, AT&T has been a victim of that, and they tried to own it. I know for a fact that Comcast and Charter 100% have not seen any growth in TV, even though it is so very profitable, because from what I understand, Moose, the typical TV plan, is it $110? $120 in some instances, average, depending on the market, right?
The TV is very expensive, man.
Yeah. I mean, cost cutting, and cord cutting specifically, that's going to put you up over $80 too. Yep. To get a live TV option and then start to bundling your services with things like Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus. I mean, every studio platform is doing their rendition of an app with their unique content, like HBO Max and all those things. When you pay for those services, it adds up quickly.
Yep. 100%, man. It's
big shout out to Joshua. Right. Thank you for that super chat. Go ahead, Moose.
No, I was just saying that you're absolutely right on this one, man. And you've been consistently right for a while on this.
So let's go ahead and close out this. We waited a couple more minutes. Go ahead and get your last votes in. We've got 70 votes as of right now. Which carrier has been advertising the most and has the busiest retail in your market? Your choices are AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, or a prepaid MVNO other. Go ahead into the live chat. You can click on that and cast your vote. And we're going to go ahead and close that out here in 10 seconds. And then we'll analyze and see what the results are. And I'm excited to see your perception and your view on this, Moose, because I'm surprised. And this is why I made sure to kind of frame it as this could be a market-dependent thing,
Mm-hmm.
And we will go ahead and close out the poll. The results should be available there in the live chat now. So let's take a look here. All right, Moose. We have number 1 is T-Mobile with 50% of the vote. Number 2 is Verizon with 24% of the vote. AT&T at 16%, and then the prepaid MVNO other at 8%. So we had 73 votes. Okay, so we did get a little prepaid and MVNO action in there. Not a leader by any means, but you do see a little bit there. AT&T at 16%. Surprised, or does that seem par for the course, Moose?
I don't even think that, well, like I sent you some pictures earlier today on the Pixel, the advertisement is not necessarily just on TV right now, but I will say that sometimes just because you're spending the most on advertising does not necessarily mean you're getting the most ads. Point proven every single quarter this year, and even 2 quarters last year, right, Sneed?
Mm-hmm. So I think 16% seems a little low, but I mean, I wasn't going to put it above 20% for AT&T. The Verizon one seems a little low for me, but that could just be a market-dependent thing. Verizon kills it here in Cleveland. Market share domination here. They're upwards of 50% market share in mobility. We're a 5G ultra-wideband market. We're a 5G home market. We've got locations and parts of zip codes that have the LTE home. We're seeing C Band. We've got CBRS built out. The stores are super busy. Most of them are open and have been open, for the entirety of this whole thing. So maybe that's why it's kind of skewed my experience. But when I look at the TV and with the NFL piece, all day, all week actually, and it's been like this all season, Verizon clearly has spent big in this market on the advertising, and it showed. Like, if you go to the retail spaces, when I was driving by all these Verizon stores, they were so freaking busy. They were selling phones, Moose. They really were. And, EM Tech was talking about his experience with Verizon and AT&T killing it in his market. They were the busy ones here too. And I drove by plenty of T-Mobile stores, and a lot of these T-Mobile stores are newly renovated. Some of them are converts from Sprint. They used to be Sprint retail space, and they were upgraded. They got the whole, magenta lighting and all of that, the layout, and they just weren't busy. They did. I mean, there were multiple times where no customers were in the store. So I was, and then that's why I thought it must be imperative that I mention it. This could be a market dependent thing. All right, we got T-Mobile at 50% of the vote, so they were the busy carrier according to our viewership. What's your take on that, EM?
I'm not surprised. I think with all of their recent advertising pushes for their home internet, N41, ultra capacity, it's got people, thinking and potentially considering a switch, especially if it means saving money. I think right now the vast majority of Americans are looking to save a few bucks here and there, and if they're on some old legacy plan with a different provider, they're willing to jump ship if it means they get a good deal. And I'm sure that's what a lot of people are seeing in their markets, especially where T-Mobile's strong. I live in a market where T-Mobile's really good in the urban areas, but the minute you step outside the city, it's hit or miss. So I don't see a whole lot of it, but I'm sure it's different other places.
I have not seen or heard of any advertisement for their home internet. I definitely see the iPhone and the AirPods. I see those advertisements. That's just like the traditional national retail advertisement. I don't see the home internet advertisement. I do see the 5G leadership push, less so in December, more so in the previous quarters and months. So that has seemed to kind of scale back a little bit. I think most of their advertising dollars are spent, and they've been pushing some deals. I don't know if you guys have been following it. There's a whole bunch of different ways to get free lines on T-Mobile right now.
Oh,
like, yeah, Moose, like it's like 55
ridiculous.
plus qualifies now. First responder qualifies. Military qualifies. They're even including like simple choice lines now. They're not doing T-Mobile One though. I noticed that. Yeah, so it's been a lot, Magenta. and they got the 1,000 to switch too. They're still running that, Moose, but you don't. Wow. But you're getting it again. You're getting it in the form of credits, so you got to be on them for like 30 to 36 months. So people love T-Mobile in my area because they feel like they're saving a few bucks. I mean, I don't know, man. I see a lot of the Metro advertisements here for the thriftier customer, more on the prepaid side of things, maybe the credit deficient customer, with a troubled credit history. Yeah, I'm guessing that this is completely market dependent because the poll does not reflect my experience here in the CLE at all. I would say it's probably the other way around. I thought it would have been like Verizon at 50 and T-Mobile at 24, but the other two I think are realistic. And Mike says every time I drive past my T-Mobile store, it's always dead. I think it's probably one of those situations with the market share piece. T-Mobile store is always packed in Detroit area, and actually parts of Cleveland are pretty busy for Metro by T-Mobile. Like they've got a pretty good stronghold here, Metro stores. But traditional T-Mobile postpaid has its pockets here, but it definitely doesn't scale through the entire city. You know, they're kind of like an urban carrier, kind of like what EM Tech was saying. I keep getting mail from T-Mobile that I'm pre-approved. Sure, why not? Do you have to do a credit check for the T-Mobile Home Internet? Does anybody know?
You do.
They do a soft pull or something?
Yeah, they when you open up an account, even if it's a solo account, they have you punch in your social, run a credit check.
Man, I don't want them having my data, dog.
No, that's the reason I didn't sign up for it.
Yeah, I mean, they can't be trusted, man. How many breaches can they have with sensitive customer information? Before we transition over to this next piece, we'll be talking about Verizon and C Band. That's going to be the next thing up and coming next week. I don't know did you guys, Moose, EM, did you guys catch my video from earlier today? I did that short for the T-Mobile 5G at my house.
I did, but I can check it out real quick.
Yeah, it's a short, so you can definitely just go ahead and check that out if you like, and then that way you can comment on, you know, what you think, because it's definitely taken a nosedive, you know. Moose, what did you think about that?
Which one?
The video from today.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting. A couple weeks ago, you said that it got improved. Now it's off. What the heck's going on? Then today, you were telling me that several small cells on Verizon were turned off or not working properly. You know, seems like there's all around improvements happening. Or what I was even thinking about is there might be some outages. You know, you were thinking core upgrades. This T-Mobile one, I don't think is a core upgrade.
No,
I think it's a legit turned off.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it was getting better. You know, when I first did the video last week of my initial testing, I was sitting on the couch and I was getting like 12 megabits down, a couple megabits up. Either way, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be doing too much on my T-Mobile line at my house. But the reason why I need something decent is because if I'm on a phone call, I want it to hold throughout the house. And if I start a call in the house on Wi-Fi and then I'm leaving the house, that handoff could be awful. So I need the service to be just good enough in that instance, right? And it's awful now. It just took a nosedive. It went from working in the family room like pretty well to like not even working anymore in the family room. There's no 5G. Now it's skipped over from the 5G. It's skipped over to the LT, which is the old Sprint site. And that thing sucks. That is an absolutely terrible site that needs to be, you know, either shut down or it needs to be upgraded. There's just something wrong with it. EM Tech, have you gotten a chance to look at the video now? Did you see it?
Oh yeah, that looks like a big yikes.
Okay, so if you look at the location of that testing, that's at the very front of my home and it's right by the window. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the only way I can get the signal into the house is if I'm like right there. And of course, did you look at the phone? That's the newest device. That was the 13 Pro Max. You know,
yeah.
So
I mean, I wanna give them the benefit of the doubt and say like, oh, something could have been, going on. But that's unusable speeds at this point. At this day and age, that's unusable.
I mean, it was good last week. I just don't understand what just happened in the last week.
T-Mobile is an enigma to me. I pull up can pull up a speed test real quick here, but I pick up N41 at my house, and it's surprisingly really, really good. But I go anywhere else, like the minute I leave county lines, I'm picking up 10 megahertz of N71, and that's it.
Man, I'm just trying to figure out what happened in the last week, dude. I went from 12 by 2 in the family room to only working right by the window.
I think, as Ricky would say, the skunk apes came and cut the fiber line.
Oh my goodness. So now we're kind of back to square one with the T-Mobile upgrade. It's really not an upgrade anymore. It's going to default me back over there to that LTE site, which is terrible. It's the worst. I mean, I can get like 40 megabits on the main floor, but the call quality is so bad. The performance is so bad. It's basically unusable. You know, so I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
That's that old Sprint site, right?
Yeah, it's got old LTE gear on it. It probably, I would estimate it was probably upgraded in like 2017 or 18.
I wish you could experience like my market. They've converted almost all the Sprint Keep sites, and they've got brand new hardware up on them.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, there's going to be I guess what they're going to do is they're going to take the Sprint Keep site that's pretty close, a little bit closer than this other one that was upgraded. They're going to be moving it back a little bit further, but it will be under a mile away from my house. So then I feel confident that I'll be getting like the PCS, the N41, all that'll be a go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it's under a mile, you'll probably be fine. I'm about a mile from the N41 site that's closest to me.
What do you get for uplink over there?
Here, I'll just run a speed test real quick.
Because that's the thing. Like that's usually the sacrifice once your signal strength starts to decrease a little bit. You know, you start to see the uplink kind of pay the price.
Let's see. Got 331 by 10. So not great, but for the distance from the site, I'll take it.
And then if you can get on the upper level, what happens to those speeds?
I am on the upper level. If I go downstairs, it drops down to N71.
On the main level, it's N71?
Yeah, because I live kind of like, there's kind of like a hill between me and the site. So like if I go below on the first level, it drops down to low band.
See, that's what I'm connected to. That's the 5G I'm getting. So I looked at this, like the sector placement for the N41, and they're kind of pointing the N41 down the major roads. And I'm in between the two major roads, right? So if one of the major roads is going north and the other one is going east, I'm northeast.
Oh, so they're pointing them directly away from your house, basically.
Yeah, so like I've got to get that whole like I got to get that spray effect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You're getting the side lobes, dog.
I'm getting the side lobes, bro, and it ain't cool, man.
Mm-hmm. It's not good.
Speaking of T-Mobile, I don't know when they send out crews to upgrade their sites, but one of the sites that's kind of on my commute to work had the old Nokia 60 megahertz panels up there for N41, and overnight they swapped it. The new Ericsson gear was up within 12 hours.
Nice, yeah.
Like, I swear those guys that work on those tower sites they're like thieves in the night, bro.
I've always said a good tower crew is they're like ninjas, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I wanted to do a couple of quick shout outs. Maybe they're here in the live chat right now. Medardo, thank you for the Venmo donation. I appreciate that very much. I know Josh was in here earlier and there was a super chat of some sort, or a super sticker or something. So big shout out to you guys. Thanks for contributing to the channel and supporting us. And also, I got to give a real special shout out to Alex B, who offered a massive, extremely generous donation to the channel. So a big thank you to him and shout out to him for continuing to support us here on the channel. Thanks for all that you do, Alex. Gone way above and beyond in supporting the SMT Nation. So and also there's a handful of new Patreon supporters, so I want to give them a shout out as well. So we got Adrian, JL, Steve, Ryan, Vlad, Pete, Ron, Adrian, Joe, Vivian, all added in the month of December. So we're glad to have you. Thanks for supporting. And we hope that you do enjoy the perks, the benefits, any of the discounts on Los Mobile, the access to the Discord server, the whole shebang. Thanks for all that you do. Oh, and John, of course, big shout out to him. Count on Moose with the nasally voice. Yeah. Oh my God. He's one of the originals, Cha-Cha. He's one of them.
With the nasally voice.
I know he's putting it on thick tonight. You know what I'm saying, Moose? I think probably the heaviest trolling comes from Lavendi to Technoid. That's probably the most, but John lays it on too, man. He's cool. Appreciate you, John. All right, guys. Last topic of the night. We're already like 30 minutes in here. We don't want to be on too long. All right, we have a January 5th Verizon launch for C Band. Moose has been, he's been reading some things and seeing some things. I'm not sure, EM, if you've been following the situation, but they're talking lawsuits. They're talking countersuits. What do you hear and seeing? What got your feelers around the internet there, Moose, on the interwebs? What's going on?
It's very interesting. Reddit is a plethora of information, as you know.
Reddit is a dump.
It's just so much stuff going on in Reddit. But I did hear that, or I was reading actually on Reddit, that a lot of folks are saying that the 5th is going to be an instant lawsuit by FAA against Verizon.
Sheesh. So against Verizon, the FAA, just for them turning on C Band.
Correct.
So the FCC authorizes and approves a December 5th C Band clearance. And Verizon's going to get sued by the FAA?
I know it sounds far-fetched, but
shouldn't it be the FAA suing the FCC?
I personally, well, it's complicated, man. The FCC should have been able to say, you know what, FAA is not your jurisdiction. Can't do anything about this.
Mm-hmm. We welcome in Carlos S. Tech. Welcome to the show, the Charlie Ergen picture. Yes.
Hello.
What's up, Charlie?
We are here to turn on Dish Wireless National.
Hey, Charlie Ergen's in the house. I know you got a bunch of photos there. What's up, Los? Good to have you on, man. Thanks for coming through.
What up?
We're talking C-Band, man. What's your pulse on it? Moose is saying that he's been hearing about some lawsuits, potentially, some things with the FAA. Where are you at with this?
I am trying to get a copy. I'm trying to see if I can get a copy of the official countersuit paperwork. It's already ready to go, from what I heard.
The countersuit.
Yep, the countersuit.
So the lawsuit is indeed coming from the FAA to Verizon.
They expect it. They are expecting it. So the lawyers.
What did I tell you? It's not
during
just
Christmas. The lawyers were they weren't enjoying their eggnog. They were enjoying drafting the countersuit.
Man, this is heavy.
So much money. So much.
Yeah, I don't know how the lawsuits are going to be handled. I don't know how that's going to play out. That's purely speculation, I think, at this point. I don't know, EM Tech, what have you been hearing, seeing? You got a pulse on the situation?
I don't know about any sort of reactionary measures coming from either Verizon or AT&T, but I'm just sick of the wolf tickets, man. Like, we all know that these carriers have submitted multiple research studies showing that C-band's not going to cause interference. It's not going to cause issues. And then we have the FAA and these aviation conglomerates that are sitting here blowing smoke for seemingly no reason. I'm over it. I want it to launch. I want it to happen and kind of get over this dysfunctional government bickering that we're dealing with.
Yeah, man, a combination of just awful bureaucracy, horrible politics, stagnation and progress.
I mean, if someone out there in the community can prove to me that there's some legitimacy to the claims that the FAA is making, I will gladly entertain their explanation, because I have yet to find any sort of proof anywhere that these claims are backed in any sort of truth or standing.
Well, you got the FAA saying, well, no, the carriers are saying we're unable to identify any potential interference risk. So they're like, you got to prove to us that there is risk. And then the FAA is saying, no, you got to prove to us that there isn't risk. What do you think of that?
It's like two kids bickering on a playground, bro. Like, we need to just stop the madness, stop the bureaucracy. Just let progress happen.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Can we keep C band away from airports? Is that
Sure.
is that fine? Like, can we just deploy the C band in other areas? I speculated with Pete. What do you think? 5 to 8 miles? He said maybe up to 10. Fine, so be it. There are 46 markets that could use it.
You do that, and you're taking away capacity from a third of a city. Like here, you would take away capacity of a third of the city just by doing that.
Because your airport is centralized.
Because it's centralized. Yep, it's right in the center of the damn place.
See,
so that means in the strip, you can deploy C-band. That means you can deploy C-band north of it, where there's a lot of homes. East of it.
All right, Pete's saying up to 10 kilometers. So, what does that put at it for miles? What's 10K? 10 kilometers. I don't know how many miles that is. Anybody got a conversion on that?
It's about 6 miles.
That's about 6 miles. Okay. 6, 7 miles, maybe. That kind of sucks. I think, yeah, that sucks, Carlos. It's true. Yeah.
Bro, you do anything like that, you let them win. You literally.
My thing, Carlos, would be, I would put it at like 2 or 3 miles, right? And then I would have any site that's within 2 miles only having sectors pointing away from the airport. Like I wouldn't
do jack shit, bro. You want to know for the reason why? You got Japan that still do that. They have only 50 megahertz of guard band and they're doing fine. We haven't heard any crash yet. You got Europe.
But you have to, I think in this situation, but I think in this situation, Los, you have to you kind of have to go through these negotiating phases in order to make progress. You're going to have to come to an. Because here's the thing. Why the FCC hasn't pressed the FAA and the aviation operators, the aircraft operators, why haven't they done an audit on the planes that have old, really legacy, possibly interference risk altimeters? Like, there's certain ones that are older, and there's definitely some that have probably been replaced in the last 10 or 20 years. Those most definitely are up to spec, right? 10, 20 years, most definitely. I think it's the ones that predate those that are the problem. Yeah, maybe. Look, I get what Carlos is saying. I kind of support him in that. I think that they spent the money. They should be able to deploy. If these airplane operators are willing to risk people's safety, knowing that this was coming down the pipeline, it's hard to overlook that. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest problem with the whole FAA airworthiness directive and all the other BS that they're putting out, it's like most commercial aircraft and most cargo aircraft is pretty new. It's not like they're 50 plus years old. I tried to do a little bit of research, and it seems like most of the commercial operators that fly out of the U.S. they have a pretty up-to-date fleet in terms of aircraft age. So unless they're just putting junk parts in these new planes, it's not like they're, behind, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But still, it's the fact, bro, that you give in to their demands, then they're gonna want more. You
I
just
think
gotta let the lawsuits happen.
I think the powering down is a viable option too around the airports, kind of just as a safeguard temporarily until whatever altimeters have to be upgraded. And they're going to have to upgrade them. This day was coming. It's been looming for a long time. That's really what's got me angry. You know what I'm saying, Carlos? I think at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the real issue is that the airplane operators knew this was coming. They knew their altimeters were old, and they did nothing to prepare for the situation.
I mean, pretty much, but still can't cave in, bro. Once you cave in a little bit, they want more, and that's how it always works.
Well, I think it's at the best interest to find a resolution at some point, on
Yeah, the
some capacity.
resolution is for the chairwoman to grow some guts and actually do something about it instead of just sitting around twiddling her thumbs while this is going on. Just because she did one thing good, she's not letting this. She's not doing nothing about this just by sitting there and twirling her thumbs up her rear end.
So, Los, what's your take on AT&T kind of looking like they're backing down, and then Verizon's gung ho, ready to go, dude?
Because AT&T has that contract, so they're in that bureaucracy stage, where they can't do it. If they do it, they gotta put their tail between their legs, bro, like a dog in heat, bro. And they gotta just shut up. Which is sad because they should just step up to the plate and say, you know what, screw them too.
Big shout out to David. Welcome to the show, man. Sebi said Verizon and AT&T said till January 5th, but later they changed it. I think Verizon's still on course for January 5th. The AT&T piece seems to be more of an indefinite type of situation. No solid date. Chaim, what is this? How do you pronounce this? How would you pronounce this, EM? What do you think?
Schmeffe?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Sebi. Yeah. The powering down. Yeah. Gene says Verizon should just go ahead with the C band deployment anyway. Screw the FAA. I think a lot of people agree. A lot of people are advocating for the spectrum to go live. It's kind of a pain. Otherwise, CBRS becomes a decent option and more millimeter wave. What else are you going to do around these airports, Los?
Yeah, and then they're gonna find the new auction that just happened, and they're gonna say something about that spectrum. That's what people don't understand. You give in a little, then they have a lot more leverage for them to bitch, and then you're gonna have to give in more. You know what I'm saying? That's why you just go with the lawsuits, let the lawsuits happen, and then let it get proven in court that there's other countries that are doing it with less guard band, and they're doing just fine.
We need proof that an old altimeter is failing from C-band. We need proof of that. And then if that is true, the FAA needs to get sued. And so do the aircraft operators, because they have done nothing to prepare for this for 5 years. I don't think any of this is the problem of the carriers. I 100% think this is on the aircraft operators. They were not ready. They were not prepared. They refused to upgrade their equipment in time for this launch, and they knew this day was coming over a year ago in terms of the specific date. And they knew there was going to be a day when the C-band was going terrestrial to cell tower sites. And that was back in like 2016. So at the very, very least, they've known about C-band coming to cellular for at least 5 years. And then the pressure has been cooking on them for probably the last year and a half, because the spectrum was auctioned, then it was assigned, and then it was cleared and repacked, and here we are today. Big shout out to Green. He says, do you think that the carriers will go completely unlimited with hotspot and on-device data when standalone 5G is fully deployed? I'm going to go no with completely unlimited hotspot. On-device data, sure. Hotspot, no. I don't think that...
Hotspot will never go unlimited, Sneed. We know that, bro, because they've had it unlimited before, and guess what happened, bro?
Abuse.
You had people that were inconsiderate pricks and abused it, unfortunately. So that will never happen, unfortunately, at least not in our lifetime.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that, Green. Unless it's like mmWave as like the exception. Anything mid-band, low band, no way.
They're already capping that. What are you talking about?
Well, that's because that's because now it includes C band. Right? The ultra wideband includes 2 spectrum types.
Yeah. So
Derek says, are you saying that if C band is deployed and we have a crash, the FAA should be sued? 100%. The FAA should be sued and the aircraft operator should be sued. Yes. 100%. Honestly, they should be sued for neglect and incompetence, risking people's lives with old equipment.
Like I said, bro, I wouldn't put it past me, man, if magically something did happen when it hasn't happened in any other country.
No problem, Sebi. You could disagree. No worries. Standalone 5G.
Old altimeter, no excuse. No excuse.
I don't understand.
Why would you have... Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Steve. Why would you have an old altimeter? Come on. It's absolutely insane.
There's no reason for you to know about something coming. That's okay. So like let's put this into perspective, Moose. You get a warning from the weather service. There's a blizzard coming to your city in 5 days. What are you doing? What are you going to do in response to that, Moose?
For me, GTFO. I wouldn't even
so
stay
you mean
there.
you mean you would respond? You would react?
Right.
They didn't react. They knew this day was coming and chose not to react.
Right.
You know,
these airlines make an average of $40,000 per flight, and they're doing at least 3 flights a day. That's over $120,000 a day. You're telling me that they can't afford a new altimeter?
I don't think it's that they can't afford it. It's they don't want to spend, Los. You know how this stuff goes.
They don't want to spend money down.
They're going to literally say, oh, you guys want to start using the spectrum near ours? All right, well, then upgrade our crap.
Where our chairwoman should say, you know what? You guys have had enough time. This is going on. And you got and just to be a pain in your ass. I'm going to give you 120 days to start showing me that you guys are starting to upgrade these altimeters. If not, you're going to get fined daily or weekly. That's what she should do. Now, then I would say she has guts. Until then, she's gutless in my eyes right now.
Yes, I don't know what you mean by they were blocked. If you would be so kind to possibly elaborate, I will also send you the link if you would like to join us, just in case you can. If not, no worries. I just DM'd you that link so you can stop by if you can. The thing that I know about the FAA is I know they were stripped of their authority with the equipment testing. So previously the process was the FAA had the power and the authority to test vendor equipment and manufacturers' gear before it came to market, which gives them power, right? Like they start to kind of dictate who's going to be selling their equipment within the market, like to Boeing and Airbus and all of that. So they had that authority taken from them under the Trump administration. So that's why at the end of the day, I think what this boils down to is they're trying to get some of that power back. You know, so this is a power play in my perceptions. But the problem with this power play is it's interfering with the just the overall general progress of cellular networking in the country, because it does involve the two biggest carriers that have 250 million subscribers, and the fact that those carriers spent $80 billion. That's the real issue.
So we kind of broke the math down a little bit. So with equipment cost, with labor, the auction, the relocation cost, all that, give or take $400 billion between AT&T and Verizon on this so far. So if they are getting blocked and they're not letting them deploy it, then they should get their money back. And then they should go to the EBS auction and get the 41, since the panel is the same. All they gotta do is change the radio and software.
Yeah, but Los,
If that's the case.
But Los, here's the thing. You don't pay $80 billion, for the spectrum, which has a perceived value. Carlos, they went into the auction thinking they had a specific date where they were going to use it, December 5th, right?
Yeah.
Now that changes everything. Now Verizon probably doesn't spend $40 billion. Now or what was it? Was it 30 something?
Yeah, they would have spent. They would have spent less.
They would have spent. They would have spent half, if not less. Like AT&T spent $27 billion. They probably would have spent half. T-Mobile paid the most per megahertz pop. They probably would have spent less too. And then that would have made Spectrum Auction 110, the 3.4, that just ended. That auction would have generated more. It would not have ended at 21 billion. That probably would have gone up to probably 40 billion. It would have been more like an AWS Spectrum auction, which generated a ton of money, like 40 plus billion back in 2015.
40.
Yeah, bro. Spectrum auction for AWS back in 2015 was huge. Mm-hmm. Per megahertz pop was the most expensive auction ever in FCC history. And then C Band was number 2, and it was really close. Right? The only reason C Band generated more was because C Band had more spectrum. It wasn't that it was more expensive per megahertz pop. It was close, but still AWS generated more per megahertz pop.
Also supply and demand.
What's that?
Hey, everyone.
Órale.
Hey,
what's up,
Sebby? What up, bro?
Oh, shit.
What's up, my man?
Well, I just wanted to accept the invitation a little bit. The issue itself is politics in a whole, honestly. It's not the FFA. Well, part is the FFA, but it's not completely. That's why I said it would make sense to sue the aircraft providers, but not the FFA, the FAA at all, especially with what happened, especially before, like you said, they practically were blocked, especially some of the power, especially also their stuff. That's why also the FCC was really did multiple different stuff as well, like allocating more spectrum more easily, but also the net neutrality stuff as well. So it all depends on perspective, but also in politics mostly. Right now, since the FAA has a little bit more of power, that's why they want to make sure that there is enough interference. But before, they wanted to, but they couldn't. They were blocked either by part where, like Pete said, part is Congress, but the other part was when the president stripped some of the power.
Yeah, based on what I saw, they lost a lot of their authority. It was probably, I think, year 2 of the Trump administration. I think year 2 or year 3. Remember, you guys got to look back at the last administration and see that administration was doing everything they could to remove all obstacles from slowing down progress, which means it took a lot of the power away from groups and organizations that would hinder the acceleration process.
Exactly.
Right or wrong, right, Sebby? Right or wrong, it didn't matter.
Any type of protocol that existed for a long time, it was evaded. It was no, I'm not doing it. Bypass.
Yes, bypass and evasion is exactly what it was. Because if you look at what they did with the FCC, the FCC said, okay, well, now cities, municipalities can't tell Verizon, they have to give them an answer within, I think, 30 to 60 days or something like that for the upgrades.
Very quick, and I love that. You know what I mean? That
Yeah, we all appreciate that, Moose. But the thing is that took the power away from the municipalities and the cities, just
why
like
does
the
the municipality
FAA.
need it? You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. You tell me, Moose, who is willing to relinquish their power?
Oh, tell all the communist countries and the people, dog. I'm telling you, all the communists. Well, that's going to get a little bit too political, but again, the issue is that there was a significant amount of areas, and you know this, that they did not want cell sites in certain places, even though they need for public safety reasons. They need a cell site in those areas, but they didn't want them. The people, the municipalities, and all the people, right? That on these councils and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once that issue came down, it started a rapid deployment of a lot of cell sites from all carriers. Even Dish. I mean, look at Dish, man. Look at how fast Dish got up in Las Vegas as an example. But how many other places were they deployed?
Imagine if those restrictions would have still existed from prior, then we would have to wait for the FAA to test. And then whenever they feel like it, whenever they wanted to do it, and then that's it. So if it took 10 years, then we would wait 10 years for C-band.
Well, we did.
Not exactly. Like Sneed said, it was 5 years. If they're like before, they knew beforehand, they could have simply started testing with multiple providers, like right now they're trying to do. Even if you check like the latest updates, especially on the FFA situation, they're trying to test multiple scenarios so to quickly solve this issue between both sides.
Yeah, and honestly, the testing from the carriers has been done. It was done before the auction was completed. Because when the carriers presented their research, their actual testing and the data, they presented it to the FCC. T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T were all obligated to do so. I can't speak to any other carriers because I didn't see them mentioned, but there are research papers from each carrier, and they're unable to produce interference given standard protocol, which means guard band and proper filtering technologies within other gear that operate in neighboring frequencies. You get what I'm saying, Sebi? Like they tested it under normal real world conditions where everything is the way it should be. So if there is indeed a problem, it's because things are not the way they should be, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If everything, that's the issue also with the US infrastructure as a whole. Everything is all.
Yeah.
That's why you have these issues of itself. But only recently it was like pending for the infrastructure. I don't know if everything will go well. I don't know. But also that's politics in a way.
I still think this falls back on the aircraft operators.
With the US itself, their infrastructure is old.
I still think at the end of the day, Sebi, this falls back on the. I still think at the end of the day, this falls back on the operators, the aircraft operators.
No, of course, no.
There's no way.
It's not the carriers the issue. The aircraft operators it is. Yeah, I totally agree with that. The only issue is that I disagree with the FAA being the issue.
But the FCC cannot be spineless. I think Carlos is right. There must be a moment where the FCC says to the aircraft operators, you need to do a complete audit and inventory of each of the aircraft that don't have adequate gear. And that needs to be completely shut down until you get it upgraded, whether it's the installation of a filter technology or it's the installation of an entirely new altimeter. And 5 years is a long time, Sebi. I mean, we've been in a pandemic for 2.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of opportunity to address this issue, and they have done nothing. In fact, they accelerated their concern only in the last 3 months, since October.
Unbelievable.
They only cared in October. I heard rumblings of it vaguely during the start of the auction, which was over a year ago. Right? It was complete. Wasn't it complete in December of last year?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, near.
Like it's just it's absurd, and that's why I say the politics are bad, and I think the bureaucracy is bad, and that's truly what the issue is here.
Yeah, it all depends on policy. That's the issue. Like I told you, the big issue is mostly because everything is old. It hasn't been upgraded as well, improved in a way, so there wouldn't be these limitations in place.
They have issued warning. I have seen the bulletins. The FAA has told the operators and the pilots, you must disengage the autopilot in, in this instance that this could happen. I got to imagine it's simply just the planes that have the really old altimeters that could be of any concern. There's no way
No,
that
definitely. So it's the equipment. It's like the old altimeters, definitely. It's like the whole situation with, like I told you, with the interference with medical equipment
yeah,
of with low band of T-Mobile.
yeah, I totally agree. I do see the connection there, the analogy. So how about this, Sebi? Since you're just coming on here, what happens to Spectrum Auction 108? I've already talked to Carlos about this. I think maybe me and Moose have yet to kind of discuss this. EM Tech, you could chime in too. Spectrum Auction 108 is EBS BRS. That's 2.5 gigahertz. That is, I call it T-Mobile Spectrum. I want to see T-Mobile get all of it. I want them to have the entire shebang because I want there to be contiguous channels for carriers so they can have that continuity, that efficiency, that optimal channel arrangement. That's what I want to see, guys. I want to see carriers get the best of both worlds. Get enough mid-band, get enough millimeter wave, densify like hell, and then not let things like chopped up and, chop sueyed up spectrum holdings get in the way of them having optimized networks. I know for a fact if this indeed becomes problematic, that's going to change everything for Spectrum Auction 108. T-Mobile is going to have to go through hell in gasoline drawers
They're
to
gonna have
get
to.
all that spectrum in Spectrum Auction 108.
They're literally gonna have to pull out loans after loans on top of loans
Because it's going to clear.
Big.
It's going to clear basically instantaneously within a couple of months and be assigned. There's nothing to wait for. It doesn't have to be repacked from satellite. The same thing with the DoD spectrum in 3.4. That auction would have generated more money if they knew that this was coming down the pipeline. What's your take on that, Sebi? Go ahead.
I mean, I agree. Totally agree, especially in everything in terms of long term and short term, like return. Yeah, practically the delay of Steven, it affects all carriers, honestly, even T-Mobile, even so they have like 2.5, but it will delay also their deployments of C Band when they do it after the 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can definitely agree with that. What exactly you said.
Because
it all depends actually on what happens. I mean, the biggest issue is that I don't see. It would have been better if they did like the same test that the carriers did. If they would have done it with the FAA as well. That I would say that would be like that would solve easily the issue of the interference if there is or if there isn't with using with the old equipment and the new equipment that exists currently on the airplanes. But sadly, I'm not sure what happened internally. Honestly, the only thing that we know is that obviously AT&T paused deployments, but also on Reddit they were saying that the FAA was going to sue AT&T because actually they still are making some deployments. So I'm not sure about that. About the Verizon suing, I actually didn't know.
Let's get Carlos, if you want to chime in. I know you've been kind of on the same page with me. You know, we've had these conversations a few days ago.
Bro, I've been following all this. Like, I've been researching, calling people, that I know within, at least try to get the best information possible. But at the end of the day, man, if this does not go good, if the chairwoman doesn't open her mouth and like enough is enough, then what we're gonna see is literally a damn show, bro. It's literally what's gonna happen is you're gonna have Verizon and AT&T. They're gonna be like, well, you know what? We can't deploy this spectrum right now because we're going through lawsuits. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna go to 108 and then they're gonna screw T-Mobile because they already have money reserved for that auction. They literally have money reserved for it for just in case, and that's where it's gonna be bad.
Looks like T-Mobile's gonna have to bring the money bags.
T-Mobile doesn't have the money bags, dog. Are you serious?
Pete's saying they got the money bags ready, dog.
For example, saying that the AT&T and Verizon is going to buy something 108 to screw T-Mobile. I know it makes sense logically, but also think realistically. T-Mobile is buying other, like, for example, on the licenses, they're still buying like some licenses that other, like regional or even like those churches that they have, they're buying them. So wouldn't make sense simply to buy the ones that they lost because of AT&T or T-Mobile.
Now this is the thing.
I mean, of AT&T and Verizon.
Let's say that the delay did happen, the lawsuits happened. Let's just say hypothetically everything happened to the worst. Verizon and AT&T have gear up there that's ready to go. All they gotta do is swap out a part, and they can rebroadcast it as 41. We don't want that to happen, but it's going to happen eventually. They don't care even if it's 20 megahertz Verizon. They're desperate. You know that. They're desperate for spectrum right now.
It's true.
No, yeah, you're right on that, on the desperation. Yeah, you're true on that regard as well. But like I said, it all depends on what happens. But honestly, I would say there should be like a common agreement with because before there was an agreement of low power of C band or practically no C band deployments on nearby airports or heliports. That's what was said at first, but I don't know what changed internally or what the carriers did, because for what I read, like especially on Reddit, but I also like confirmed because of permits. AT&T is still deploying, so practically they're not following their work what they said to the FAA. So
well, what they're doing,
also they are doing the FAA is doing the lawsuit. About Verizon, probably the same. I don't know.
Sebi, they're putting up the gear, but AT&T, but it's not broadcasting, so it's just being put up.
But still, like if you read what AT&T wrote, they say they will hold deployments. They didn't say we will do deployments, but we won't turn it on. The wording is different. That's another reason they can simply sue.
Moose, where are you at with this?
Well, I mean, deployed just simply means, turned. Well, when you have equipment up on a site, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If it's not on, it's not going to cause any issues. However, you pay billions and billions of dollars, and you're not going to have that thing turn on. That's a problem, man.
No, I understand, but the thing is the wording. Deployment, obviously, for deployment is a general word. It could be like deployment of anything. I deploy this, I deploy that. But if they word like a little bit differently, there wouldn't be even a loss in the first place. That's what I meant. Like, for example, they only said deployment. They will hold deployment. They didn't say we will keep deploying, but we will not turn it on until further notice. That's what I mean.
Right.
EM Tech, did you want to chime in? Just slide in here.
No, I'm good. I don't want to sound like a broken record.
The thing that It is a broken record at this point. I feel like everybody's on pins and needles.
Moose, what's the most likely outcome?
Well, like I've said the scenarios, right? We've said it so many times. The scenario one is that Verizon is going to deploy on the 5th and immediately is going to have somebody sue, and there's going to be an injunction by a judge citing, like safety concerns and all this nonsense. And that's what's going to effectively kill the C-band launch on the 5th for a temporary stay. You know what I mean? Like that's the verbiage, whatever, right? Option two is more conspiracy, based, which I don't want to really get into, but basically they're going to cause an issue simply because of the fact that they didn't get their way. You know what I mean? The FAA is going to cause an issue. Scenario three, which is the more likely scenario, is that the FAA is going to have to be controlled by some entity, whether that's the FCC is going to countersue, or finally the president is going to have to get involved, because it's so ridiculous to me that the president has not put a foot down on, hey, we need this for C-band. We need this for advancing our, actually not advancing, to get back into the game for the technology race. We're so far behind, Sneed.
I just want to say the altimeters are required to auto land the aircraft. From what I understand, there are 2 or 3 of them for every aircraft. And pilots are, they're trained, their process is to allow the planes to land themselves, and they monitor accordingly. Should anything arise that would potentially be a risk, they have to disengage the autopilot and diverge the flight and land it themselves manually. Some of those contributing things are things like adverse weather, wind, thunderstorms, lightning. It may cause them to have to go to another place to land. It may cause them to have to wait to land. Like there's a number of different things that they do as part of their process and how they're trained and how to react. So I think about this in this situation. The gear, if it is indeed going to fail the pilots, I think it's unbelievable that the aircraft owners were willing to do this. They were willing to go through this and risk people's lives, including their own pilots and these citizens, just for the sake of being cheap. 5 years, dog. 5 years. And their response was nothing until October. 5 years. I think that's where we are here with this.
Isn't that called foul play?
I call this incompetence, negligence, chicanery, tomfoolery, and what we call it here at the Nation is fuckery. To know that something is coming down the pipeline and to be one of those do nothing responses, it's just alarming. I can't believe they'd be willing, if this interference risk actually truly does exist, I can't believe they'd be willing to risk the lives of people. It's unbelievable. And to somehow insinuate and put it on the carriers, that is absurd. Anybody with a half a brain could clearly see this is negligence and incompetence.
Completely agree.
This is a charade. This is an absolute charade. And the media spin on this. 5G's taking down planes. I mean, some of these headlines are absurd. The CNBC story that I saw, there was a New York Times post that I saw. Unreal, dude. Unbelievable. Oh, and they even linked a situation where an altimeter failed in Turkey back in 2011. They tried to link this. C-band wasn't even used in cellular yet. Crazy. Couldn't believe it. Vivian,
It's a whole mess, honestly. That's
Vivian
it.
says,
it's a whole mess.
Connery. Oh my goodness. It's not only a Ford, you have to certify it and then certify the installation. It takes a lot to upgrade. I still feel Lexus 5 years would have got this done. Where are you at with me on that one, Sebi? 5 years enough time?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, let's be honest, man. We knew this was coming at least 5 years in terms of it was headed down the pipeline to go cellular. And then, 2 years ago was the FCC declaration that it was going to be auctioned. And then 1 year ago, the auction completed. The assignment was 11 months ago. The early pack was by June. And then we start getting a fuss from the FAA in October. That's how it played out. I'd want the carriers to sue the FAA for defamation, if not for my conviction that the FAA would retaliate by becoming even more obnoxious to work with. I mean, could it be any worse than this? Could it really be any worse than this? And
I hope not.
Michael brings up the point. It is a triple redundancy system. It is. There are fail safes. There's systems in place to prevent failures. You guys know that the altimeters are. There's a backup plan for everything when these planes land, right? We never used that here in the U.S. I'm sure some countries probably did, Vivian. I'm not sure about which countries were using C Band on LTE, but not here at least. Anybody know where they did that? They use C Band for LTE? I'm assuming maybe somewhere in Europe.
No.
Probably most likely in Europe.
Yeah. 5 years more than enough time for the FAA to act. The FAA needs to be targeted by the carriers and the FCC. Oh man, Aaron P is gunning for him.
No, to be completely honest with you, Sneed, I think that the government is certain parts of the government are trying to get in the way with other parts of the government that are trying to innovate, dog. That's the situation that we're in right now.
I mean, Verizon can't properly do fixed wireless access to scale without C-band.
Correct.
It just simply won't scale in range.
And by the way, it'll be actually a much better experience for the existing 5G millimeter wave customers, right? Because now you don't have to just have the unit next to a window, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think
you can put it somewhere else.
But Moose, what it boils down to is like Verizon and T-Mobile, for example, they want to get fixed wireless access to tens of millions of people. Without national mid-band licensing, how do you do that? What's this infrastructure bill about? Isn't it about connectivity for the entire country?
Yeah, but they, unfortunately, some people don't understand what infrastructure means.
I mean, this is part of it.
Right, exactly. Infrastructure means your fiber, your roads, your airwaves. I would even put in the bill, to be completely honest with you, I would have put in the bill multiple other spectrum bands from the DoD to be given to the carriers because we need more spectrum. There's never going to be an end to this. There's always going to be a need for more.
Yeah, that's true, Michael. There's at this moment in time 400 megahertz a guard because this is going to be 3.7 to 3.8. And then the altimeters run between 4.2 and 4.4. There is a lot of guard. A lot of guard. B and C block are definitely guard. Plus the additional space, right? The 4 gigahertz, the 4.1.
Bro, you got other countries using N78, which is 4.2.
Well, it depends on the country, Los. Every frequency C-band is a little different.
Yeah, but in other countries they're using N78.
Sure. Yeah.
And they only got 80 megahertz, 100 megahertz of guard band, depending where. No more than 100.
I bet you if they got the altimeters upgraded properly, we'd only need 20 megahertz of guard.
Yeah, most likely.
You see what I'm saying? Then you could auction more C band. You could auction, like, think about it, Los. They just auctioned 280 megahertz, right? Or was it 200? What they? It was 280, right? Okay, so there was 500. They auctioned 280, which means there's 220 for guard. You could put 20 on each side, and you could still auction 180 megahertz. You mean to tell me that's not going to generate tens of billions of dollars?
Of course it will.
You feel me, Sebi? What do you think of that?
I mean, it'd be nice if it happened.
I mean, honestly, I hope maybe they find like a suitable resolution right now, like saying like simply to either to stop deployments near airports or to simply do low power in the meantime. I hope so, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen, especially with because now, like, the carriers obviously they have their right, especially because they paid a lot of money. But also, it's like, I don't know, it's complicated.
Can the carriers sue the FCC?
100%.
Yes, I mean, they have the right to, but
100%.
The only thing I would say, maybe they get refunded what they paid for having early
Sebi,
early part of C band.
How do you re-auction 110? Because Verizon goes 40 megahertz national. If this was going to happen, and they didn't go 40 megahertz national. We all believe that AT&T did, but it's a foregone conclusion. The auction for 100 megahertz of the 3.4, Verizon's leaving with 40 megahertz national, AT&T's leaving with 40 megahertz national. That changes everything. That auction is going to generate closer to $35 or $40 billion. And Verizon's walking away with national licenses, and so is AT&T. And maybe T-Mobile walks away with nothing. Maybe, I don't know. And maybe Dish walks away with nothing. And then what does that do to EBS BRS? Now that they haven't even set the terms for that auction, we're still waiting on the FCC to do that. And we know why. Now we know why.
So let me ask you this, Sneedman. In your opinion, okay, if this continues with the whole situation with the C band on to the next auction, do you think that AT&T and Verizon are going to go hard?
I mean, yeah, dude, they have to. Isn't that the response?
And do you think that they're going to go and clean house to the point where T-Mobile can't even compete in that auction for additional N41 spectrum?
I mean,
I don't know what their approach is. I have no idea at this point.
I see it happening, to be honest.
Come on, Cha-Cha. No, of course, Cha-Cha's right.
It could happen. It could happen, but again, I don't know. It would be but we'll have to see.
I mean, bro, AT&T will come out with the money bags, but I think AT&T will kind of hold back a little because they still have spectrum. They still have a good, decent amount of spectrum, and their tower and their network is not as congested. But Verizon's desperate, bro. They'll do whatever it takes. They will, even if it takes 20 megahertz, even if they have to pay $20 billion for 20 megahertz. It will go to that point.
Alexa says we're missing a big factor here. The process to modify the plane certification takes a lot of work. Otherwise, planes will unexpectedly drop for unknown reasons. You need to understand this.
Oh, shit. Well, so I am with Carlos on this one. I can almost guarantee you right now, Verizon and AT&T go hard to the point where T-Mobile has no choice. They're not going to have any money.
But Sebi, or Moose, I still go back to the point. You can't retroactively go back to Spectrum Auction 110. That's the problem. that changes that auction. It's like freaking Thanos, dude, with the Infinity Stones. How they went back in time and they tried to change how the thing played out. The snap. You can't go back and change that auction. That auction would have been different.
Now, what I'm about to say is going to be very controversial, but because the spectrum hasn't been deployed yet, as in turned on, that at any point in time, the FCC can say, we're going to re-auction this shit and we're going to refund you guys all the money. What then?
Well, here's the thing. It is only going to be download. Right? They're not running SA cores yet, so it is going to be download only. Remember, to do 5G uplink, it's got to be standalone 5G, right?
Not quite. You can also do an NSA, but the SA core actually gives you more flexibility, even more than NSA, but you can do even on NSA.
Alexa says we are speculating incorrectly on what it takes to make a plane flight worthy. Oh man, we need to have
planes. Certifications that take a long time. He's right on multiple, even on other types of equipment. But honestly, on planes, I'm not sure how complex it is. He should know more, especially on that regard. Well,
Sebi, I think we need to get somebody on the show, man. I think we need to get some experts. We need to get some pilots out here. We need to get some some engineers and technicians out here.
It would be interesting at least to learn more, especially how complex the issue is, because I know that it is complex, but I don't know like how much.
I can't believe that 3.7 gigahertz is causing all of this. There's no way. There's no way that 3.7 gigahertz is affecting radio altimeters at 4.2 to 4.4. No way. No way. The laws of physics just simply don't warrant this. Come on. I remember listening to FM radio 92.3, right? And then 92.5 was a totally different station with no interference. There's no way.
There is sometimes, though, if you're far enough, right? Like an FM station, like one fit.
Bruce, I used to listen to 92.3 all the time, and I never used to get any interference between 92.5.
Yeah,
it was a totally different station. No, that's close. That's freaking close. No.
Distance, dog. Distance-wise to this, antenna. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, dog.
But
Alexis says that it's not the old equipment, so I'm not sure.
But here's the thing that I think we're probably not really understanding the whole situation. How many altimeters are actually in question? We don't know.
We need an audit. Where is the FAA with this information? Have they disclosed this to carriers? Have we gotten official numbers from Airbus and Spirit and all those different companies that operate the aircraft? Have we gotten those numbers? No, I don't see any of that. Nobody gave a percentage. Nobody said, okay, it's 11% of operational aircraft in the U.S. If it ends up being something crazy, like a crazy low number, and they're just neglecting or just showing the unwillingness to upgrade in a timely manner, then what do we say at that point? Alexis says, no, it's not the old equipment. Well, then what are they saying then? Stations take 4 kilohertz. They have 10 hertz of guard. That's nothing. We've been talking megahertz and gigahertz. What's 10 hertz? Man, we got to get Alexis on the show. We got to get Alexis. It looks like Alexis may know a little something on this. All right, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll kind of let this lie and we'll see how this plays out. January 5th, y'all. You guys
Yeah,
got
I mean, honestly, if you get like some information from Alexis, would be better for a video or a podcast or something.
I'm gonna have to do something. There's a couple of people on YouTube. I'll look for some email addresses. I'd love to get their thoughts and opinions on this and their experience.
Yeah, it would be interesting to watch, especially to learn. Because I understand the issue is complex, but honestly, I don't know all the information about it.
Right? What is the complex issue that we have to figure out? Because clearly, anything can be solved with money, but who is going to pay for that? I honestly think that it has to be whoever's the owner or leasing company of that equipment, in my opinion. Why does the carriers, AT&T, Verizon, have to pay for replacing equipment if the people that are responsible for that equipment that they're operating needs to be the ones to replace the equipment?
We got a question from Derek. Will Sneed fly after January 5th in bad weather?
Ooh,
okay.
Very good question.
I'm getting on that plane, and I'm going to ask the pilot one question. Are you going to manually land this plane? Or are you going to engage the autopilot, the auto land?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because that's what this boils down to. Right? Like, if some sort of a redundancy is to fail, it's a redundancy. So what are you going to do, right? Like, isn't that what they're trained to do? Respond to situations and scenarios. Like, they've been trained on how to land a plane. You know, we rely on the auto landing because it's reliable, but they also need to be able to land the daggone plane. But I will tell you that I'm very, very disappointed and disheartened by the industry. You know, I could see Alexis is saying it may not be their fault, but
what do you mean? Who's they in this?
The aircraft owners and operators.
So then, whose fault is it?
That's.
Come on, dog.
How could it be the carrier's fault for spending $80 billion on spectrum from the FCC?
It's not AT&T and Verizon's fault if the FCC allowed them to buy that spectrum. So then, technically, if we really want to put a blame to this, it's again the government, whether it's the FAA or the FCC. They didn't coordinate.
Do you think any information is going to come out between now and January 5th that's going to change any of this?
I doubt that in the next 2 weeks, specifically because so many people are on vacation, anything's going to change.
What do you say, Ian? Does anything change between now and January 5th?
Nope. I genuinely don't think that anything is... I don't think we're going to see a change in the narrative from either side, and then it's going to blow up on January 5th.
Carlos, what do you think? Anything
so
change?
EM is saying that it's going to blow up. For sure it's going to blow up.
Yeah, and we'll see when January 5th hits, bro. We'll see when it hits.
So you got nothing changing between now and January 5th?
Honestly, I doubt it, bro. I think it's just going to go as planned and, just let the suits live on. Yeah.
What do you say, Sebi?
For me, anything is possible. I mean, anything can change at any time.
Anything come from AT&T or Verizon between now and January 5th? Anything come from the FAA between now and January 5th?
Anything could be maybe something they can work out together, and maybe C-band could be launched, but obviously with some limitations. I don't know. Honestly, for me, anything is possible.
Shame, I do not know, man. I think Verizon turns on the N77. I think they follow through on their power limitation. I think, I don't know.
Oh, shit, bro. So I'm testing this right now. So when I moved to because right now I just came here to check to see how, because I wasn't saying anything, but I bought a new house. You know, they're building it right now, and I'm checking out the speeds right now here, bro. And T-Mobile will actually work for once. Holy shit! T-Mobile's actually gonna work. Look, this is what it gets at the house, right here at the new spot. Well,
Maybe
it's
they
not.
fixed that interference issue. You said that they
No,
had a
no,
lot
no.
of noise.
This is a new house. This is a new house I'm buying, bro. Like it's still a skeleton right now.
Oh,
Like
it's
I just
getting
literally,
built?
yeah, bro. I bought a new house, bro. Come on, man.
Oh, snap, bro. Congratulations, man.
So mobile's actually good here. It's actually decent.
That is really good. That you got 600 megs down, dude.
Wow, I'm surprised. I
Nice.
just have to come out here and check it out. You know, see how the progress is. And then they got the fiber. They're already running it. I can see.
That's the
CenturyLink
best.
fiber.
Yeah, when they do the fiber as you're building the neighborhood, it's the best.
Yeah, it's CenturyLink.
CenturyLink,
bro.
Lumen, yeah.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Ricky wants to congratulate you. He said you got LTE Plus now.
Yeah, we got it, bro. We got it finally.
Ricky putting it on thick. All right, boys. Anything for the good of the order?
Well, hold on. So, what do you think, Sneed? I mean, I want to know what's your opinion on the whole situation, if anything's going to happen by January 5th.
Yeah, I think Verizon's going to launch. I don't think anything's going to stop them. You know, I mean...
Right, okay.
Verizon's going to say, we got a $40 billion receipt here. F off. F on, dog. And it's going to get messy, you know, and... God, man, this is terrible. This is terrible. I mean, a lot of people were counting on this to bring some really good capacity to their networking experience. And, you know, now what? You know, now you got markets that still don't have millimeter wave. You got markets that have been anticipating this and they put all this gear up. I mean, I've got a site right next to my house that's just waiting to get turned on. The gear is up. The work is done. The backhaul was upgraded. It's all ready to go.
Right.
What the hell did we accelerate this for? To sit and wait longer? Yeah, hurry up so we can just wait longer. Yeah, that makes a lot of damn sense. It just changes so many things. You know what I'm saying, Moose? The way this is played out, it would have changed the Spectrum auction, 107. It would have changed
the trajectory, right?
It would have changed 110. It's changing 108. You know, it just changes everything. It changes the financial behavior of these companies. It changes the ability of them to have fluid cash, free cash flow. You know, it changes their loans. It changes their, you know, securing their senior notes and all the things that Dish and AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile have done for the last 3 years. All mortgaged on these auctions.
The butterfly effect that they call it.
Of course, yeah. It changes everything, and that's why I feel the most likely scenario, even though through all this negative Nancy stuff, I still feel that between now and January 5th, and I know Carlos opposes this and he doesn't want to back down and all of that, there must be some sort of a resolution that involves the spectrum going live without anything other than airport limitations and power restrictions near those airports. That's really it.
Until when would those restrictions be?
I mean, they said, 6 months? You know, they were willing to do 6 months. I don't know what it's going to take. The FAA is not talking. You know, because, you know what this reminds me of, dude? This reminds me of when the Attorney General in New York, Letitia James,
here we go. This lady.
Yeah, she was trying to block the T-Mobile and Sprint merger.
That's right.
And I tweeted at her on Twitter, and I said, look, lady, this merger is going to happen. You standing in the way of it is not going to help the citizens of New York. You need to get your people a deal, protections, benefits that are going to help them. Instead of just standing in the way and losing and getting nothing, stand in the way make some deals and agreements that will benefit your people. And you know what she did? She did nothing. She got her people nothing. She stood in the way of the merger and accomplished nothing, as opposed to Nevada, which got T-Mobile to unionize. You see what I'm saying? Every attorney general owed it to their people to get something out of the merger. Screw the corporations. I don't care about them. I'm a man of the people, dog. I am one of the people.
But do you think that maybe there was some hindsight 2020 thing where at the end of the day, T-Mobile is not going to honor those conditions, because look at what's happening with the CPUC. They said that the CPUC has no authority to tell them that they have to do X, Y, and Z. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Just recently happened.
But the reason why I draw this comparison is this reminds me like in order for there to be resolution, both parties have to come to the table. You know? So Alexis, I understand. I don't know the aspect of the aircraft. I don't see how they're not ready in 5 years. That's where I'm having like that's
issues.
Where my conniption is. Like I don't get how the 5-year period nothing got accomplished. 5 years, man. 5 freaking years. RFK Tech with the super chat. Appreciate you. Happy New Year to you, man. You said enjoy your LT Plus for another year. Dumb skunk. Oh man. Yeah, 2027.
Yeah, at least that'll work in the new house, bro, right? Damn.
Joshua, it looks like the answer to that is no. AT&T will not be turning on C Band January 5th. Sorry.
Who knows at this point if it is or not? I mean, right now we're saying no, but it's really sad.
Anything else for the good of the order, boys?
If not C Band 110 or 188, whatever the heck, you know?
Man. All right. Hashtag 2Live Crew if you watch this during the live broadcast. Hashtag Replay Crew if you're watching this after it was live. Hashtag Ravioli Gang if you were snacking or eating dinner while you're watching this or listening to this. Hashtag Mod Squad for all my moderators out there holding it down. Unlimited ammunition, dogging the trolls and getting them out of here. FOH, you know. And then I think that's it. I got all my hashtags. Oh, and lastly, hashtag free C-Band. I think that one's due. You guys remember what was the name of the gorilla from back in the day? Harambe. It was like free Harambe. Can we free C-Band? Can we do that, bro?
Oh my god.
Can we free C-Band?
Oh my god. Man, Harambe. That takes me back, man. Oh my god.
Dude, I remember Harambe, dog.
Remember that Stop Kone or whatever? The warlord in Africa that ended up being a hoax?
Free Coney?
No, Kone. Remember the Fight Kone and all this other nonsense they were doing, like GoFundMes, because there was a warlord in Africa that was terrorizing people and it ended up being a hoax?
Oh,
well, the C-Band, dog. We need the C-Band.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks, MS. Appreciate the super chat. And to everybody who offered me super chats, including RFK Tech, Joshua, Michael. I know there are a couple others, but it's not necessarily letting me go all the way back. So thank you to everybody. Green, I know he had a super chat as well. Thank you for that. Maybe it's letting me go a little further back. John was here. He offered a super chat as well. Oh, maybe it is letting me go back. That's cool. Okay. Can I keep going here? Make sure I get to everybody. Thanks for those super chats. And also to Alex B. Appreciate his massive super chat dono for the holidays. Thank you for that. Also, the newest members of the Patreon. And if you guys want to support us on Patreon, discounts on Los Mobile, early access to videos. We do have an exclusive podcast on the Patreon tomorrow night. So you guys can tune into that if you become a Patreon member and support us there. And that's pretty much it. Do me a solid. Please do like this video and share it before you guys go. Share it to your socials. Make sure that you subscribe if it's your first time here. EM Tech, $5 super chat. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you, man. Hashtag free C-Band. Yeah, you're welcome, Viv. Glad to offer it, and we had fun doing it. By the way, one of the reasons why I think me and Moose decided to do this live stream tonight is nobody was live streaming anywhere on YouTube, dog. There was like nothing going on. It was like dead silent, man. So
Really?
yeah, dude, there was quiet for the last 48 hours. Nobody was really doing much. It was pretty quiet. But yeah, I like making content, and I like the live streams and interacting with the community and doing the polls and seeing what you guys have to say. Lexus says the certification of Wi-Fi was a major effort by my old group at Boeing. It was a gigantic effort. So we need efforts. We need efforts. All the parents exhausted by Christmas. I think you're onto something there. All right, guys. Anything for the good of the order?
So we're definitely doing a podcast on the 5th, right?
Yeah, 100%. We will be the day of launch of C Band. I'll be testing sites. I'll be doing live streams. We'll do a podcast that evening. It's going down, y'all. And big shout out to RFK Tech. He's got his show Thursday nights, 10 p.m. He's got his live stream, I think, right after Technoids. Big shout out to Caesar. Thanks for your super chat, man. He said, thanks, Sneed. Always enjoy your, I think he meant content. We doing a live space after. We could do a space. Absolutely. Sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's do a space because then I can get more of you guys involved in the convo. So yeah, Caesar, thank you. Good idea. We'll be over there on Twitter. My Twitter handle is in the description box. If you guys want to check us out there, as well as my email address and my and the Patreon link. MT Houston, Texas, my dude. What is up, man? He said, hashtag now that Britney Spears is freed, free C Band. Sheesh. Hashtag longest hashtag ever. Do you know the lifetime of the airplanes are? Yeah. We've got aircraft from the 1950s, from what I understand. Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Aaron P. Adam, appreciate you. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that space, guys. You guys ready? Let's go over there. You Twitter side?
Start up now.
All right, let's do it. Peace. Thanks to all the guests and thanks for all the viewers and listeners.
Take care,
We'll see you
guys.
soon.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays and a happy new year to all.
Yep. Yay.